Alright guys, let's see how we can use signals and rxResource in Angular. Here we have one form. We're using the default form group where we have email and message and some validators. So the whole form group, we're using form builder for it. This is standard reactive based form in Angular, and we're saving the value of the form inside of the signal. Back in the template, we have form control name, which is linked towards our form builder created controls. And whenever we click on the submit button, we are using the submit function. Here we're using the inbuilt check whenever the form group is valid or not. And if it's not, we're returning without sending any request. This means that all the validators will work correctly. Basically, we're using the form service set data and we're sending the following form data. The set data is a setter for a signal, and it's important for this data to be unique every time we click on the send button. Otherwise, it will not trigger our rxResource because the values inside of the signal are being cached by default. They are immutable and checked by reference. In order to circumvent this, we are creating every time a new form data object and we are passing it to our setter, which will be consumed by rxResource. Now we see that inside of our service, we have one signal containing the form data, and by default, it's set to null. With the setter, we are just setting the past data to the signal. Now the rxResource will be using this form data signal as a trigger, and whenever it changes, we'll start the loader, which means we'll create an HTTP request, a post request towards certain API URL. So once again, we are monitoring the form data signal. The request is passing data towards the loader, and here we see that we're forming one object with data pointing to all the values from our form. Then we are destructuring the information from the request, and we make one check whenever there is data or not. If there is none, we send null or an observable of null because we are working here with Rx observables. If there is data, we are performing the post request. Now we see the form result, loading, and form error, which are provided directly from the API. The value is loading and error signals from rxResource, and we can use them further in our calculations in the TypeScript file or inside of the template. Now let's see how we can use those values. For example, for the error message, we're grabbing it directly from the form error signal from the rxResource. And since it's standard HTTP error response provided by the HTTP client, we are just returning the error.message part. The interesting part is that here we are grabbing one signal and returning its part as a computed signal. This means that whenever form error changes, the error message will also change, and we can use it directly inside of our template. Of course, there are additional checks for additional type of errors which don't belong to the HTTP error response. Now to the template, see how easy it is to use the error message. We need just to unwrap the signal. Same is true for the loading and the result of the form. For example, if you would like to see what is returned from our rxResource inside of the submit data, we can check first if it exists something in the submit data and then display its values as a status and message. And now we'll take a look on how to react to changes. For example, if there is something inside of our errors, we can create one constant, and if it exists something, to, let's say, open a snack bar with the value of the error, we wrap everything inside of an effect because we would like to create a side effect with the changes happening to the error message computed signal.